The birth of leadership, when the world saw its first president.
But before we start to get into the video, please support us by like, share, and subscribe to this channel so that we can provide new insights and knowledge about world history. Thank you.
In the grand narrative of world history, few events are as transformative as the creation of a new system of governance. Among these, the Philadelphia Convention of 1787 stands as a monumental moment, not only for the United States, but for the evolution of political leadership globally. It was here, amid the humid rooms of Independence Hall, that a group of men set forth a radical vision, a nation guided not by monarchy or aristocracy, but by a president, an office then unprecedented in power and scope. The creation of the American presidency during this seminal convention was a defining act that shaped the modern concept of democratic leadership. Before 1787, the idea of a single executive leader, elected and bound by constitutional constraints, was largely untested. Monarchies dominated much of the globe, with kings and emperors wielding near absolute power. Even the fledgling American states, under the Articles of Confederation, had resisted central executive authority for fear of tyranny. Yet, the weaknesses of the Articles, chief among them the inability to enforce laws or collect taxes, made clear the need for a stronger, more centralized form of leadership. The Philadelphia Convention was convened in response to this crisis. Originally intended to revise the Articles of Confederation, the convention soon took on a more ambitious goal: to draft an entirely new constitution. This constitution would not only balance the interests of large and small states, free and slave-holding states, but also reconcile fears of centralized power with the need for effective national leadership. At the heart of this debate was the question: what kind of leader should America have? The delegates were deeply divided. Some
feared the rise of another monarch. Others believed a strong executive was essential to unity and stability.
Among them, figures like Alexander Hamilton argued for a powerful presidency, even suggesting a lifetime term in office to ensure stability. Others, like Edmund Randolph and George Mason, warned against the dangers of executive overreach, emphasizing the lessons learned from British tyranny. The debates were intense, with competing visions of leadership clashing over matters such as term length, methods of election, powers, and accountability. Eventually, the framers arrived at a compromise. They crafted an executive branch led by a president, elected independently of the legislature, serving a 4-year term, and subject to checks and balances from the other branches of government. This president would command the military, oversee foreign affairs, enforce laws, and possess the power to veto legislation. Yet he would also be constrained by Congress and the judiciary, and ultimately accountable to the people through periodic elections and the possibility of impeachment. This was a groundbreaking model. While other nations had elected leaders within parliaments or councils, none had established a singular executive with such defined and constitutional powers, selected by a process involving both state and national interests, the Electoral College. In essence, the framers were creating an entirely new political role: a civilian leader with the stature of a monarch but bound by the rule of law, a president. The design of the presidency also reflected the careful balancing act that defined the entire Constitution. It was a role designed to be energetic yet limited, powerful yet accountable. The very idea of separating the powers of government, executive, legislative, and judicial, was intended to prevent any one branch from dominating the others. The president, while vested with significant authority, would not be above the law, and his legitimacy would be drawn from the people's will rather than divine right or hereditary succession. When the Constitution was ratified in 1788, the world witnessed the birth of this new office. In 1789, George Washington was unanimously elected as the first president of the United States. Washington's presidency was crucial in legitimizing the new system. Aware of the fragility of the republic, he set enduring precedents. Voluntarily, stepping down after 2 terms, appointing a cabinet, and maintaining a dignified but approachable image of executive power. His leadership gave substance to what had been, until then, only theoretical. Washington's presidency was also instrumental in shaping public perception of the office. He traveled across the states to unite the new nation, set standards for diplomatic protocol, and signed legislation that laid the groundwork for a functioning federal government. He refused titles such as His Excellency, opting simply for Mr. President, a powerful statement that underscored the office's democratic nature. In doing so, he distinguished the American model from European monarchies and asserted a new form of leadership, one built on service, responsibility, and public trust. The impact of the American presidency reverberated far beyond the young republic's borders. In Europe, where absolute monarchies still reigned, the notion of a powerful yet accountable executive was revolutionary. Over time, other nations began experimenting with presidential or semi-presidential systems, adapting elements of the American model to suit their own cultures and needs. The United States had not just created a new nation, it had introduced a new archetype of leadership. Throughout the 19th century, the role of the president expanded and evolved. Presidents like Thomas Jefferson, Andrew Jackson, and Abraham Lincoln each left distinct marks on the office, interpreting its powers in ways that sometimes sparked controversy, but also revealed its capacity for growth. Jefferson emphasized Republican simplicity and westward expansion. Jackson championed the voice of the common man and expanded executive power. Lincoln, during the Civil War, stretched presidential authority to preserve the Union, issuing the Emancipation Proclamation and suspending habeas corpus during wartime. Each of these leaders interpreted the framework of the Constitution through the lens of necessity and vision. Yet the birth of the presidency was not without flaws. The Constitution left ambiguous many questions, such as the extent of executive privilege, the limits of wartime powers, and the balance between federal and state authority. Furthermore, the exclusion of women, enslaved people, and non-property-owning men from the political process highlighted the limitations of this early vision of democracy. Still, the structure set in 1787 provided a flexible yet durable foundation that would evolve over centuries. The 20th and 21st centuries saw the presidency tested and transformed by modern challenges. From Franklin D. Roosevelt's unprecedented 4 terms during the Great Depression and World War II, to the Watergate scandal that forced Richard Nixon's resignation, the office has demonstrated both its potential for powerful leadership and its vulnerability to abuse. The post-Watergate reforms, including the War Powers Resolution and greater congressional oversight, underscored the ongoing tension between executive energy and democratic accountability. Today, the office of the president remains a central fixture in American political life, its powers and responsibilities shaped by tradition, precedent, and constitutional interpretation.
Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe if you like videos like this. Thank you.